When you think of ideas, I mean, innovations come in. In Haryana, I'll give an example which Deepender might be very interested in, because a young person who came to us a few years back, he said, look, I know the rural poor, I know what the mindset of these people are, I know how to train them, but frankly, what I would like to do is, there are lots of corporates around here in the Faridabad and other adjacent areas. They need housekeeping services, they need security services, but very often when they hire on a one-on-one. So here is a rural young person who found a way of training them, and even then, and he's employing 1,200 young people in less than 5 to 6 years of growth, and all we have given them is a kickstart. So between what it shows is, at least what it taught me, and it taught the 3,000 business volunteers which we have in our program through mentors, and what it taught even some of the biggest names in Indian industry who are on my board, what it taught all of us is, listen to what the poor have to say. Listen to what the young people in the market have to say. When they tell you something, they know the context in which they're saying. That doesn't mean that they have the answers. That doesn't mean that you don't have the intervention. But when the intervention comes top down, or when the intervention goes from urban to rural, or when the intervention comes quote unquote from the MBAs to the uneducated, it isn't what? It really is their ideas, their concepts which you take in. So I think I'm very excited about the prospects of what the young people at that level can do.
Thank you. Deepender needs to go back to Parliament. So I told him that we would dispense with our ordinary time rules and give him additional opportunity to speak generally about the areas that he feels most passionate about that offer great leverage in this area, because he may not be able to remain during the question and answer session. So, Deepender, please.
Thank you. I think I'll give a very high-level view from a lawmaker perspective, the policy perspective. I think one of the things that this session here the organizers needs to be complimented, that they framed the question in a very right sense. How can we make sure that the markets help the poor? So this already establishes a basic paradigm that we are not asking if the markets will be helpful to the poor. We are already saying the markets are going to be there, but how can we make sure that they are targeted towards the poor? The reason why I say this is important is that even today, there are a lot of voices in the Indian politics, by the way, for the most part in the last 60 years, we've never been very comfortable with market. Liberalization, globalization, opening up of markets always has scared us. Even now there are some voices with the current global turmoil which are saying that, look, we told you so. And the fact that we have seen over the last 15 years, as our incomes have risen, we've also seen rising inequality. There's no denying that. We have seen high regional disparities between urban and poor, between rich states and poor states, sectoral disparities between services and industrial sector on one hand and agricultural sector. So there are a lot of bridges to be made there. But the point there being, on an aggregate, we have moved further and the markets have helped us. That's important. Having said that, I talked about a lot of bridges. So from a high-level policy perspective, how can we make markets work for the poor most? I have just chalked out 5 high-level policy interventions that I feel could be the most important. That's in my mind at least. And I'll start with connectivity. Markets are counterintuitive in a sense. The most poorest regions of India are also the most remotest regions of India. So to expect that open markets would allow capital investment to go to these areas in terms of connecting them, building infrastructure, roads, electronic connectivity, etc., is just not something which would happen without government or policy intervention. The first policy intervention that needs to be made, in my opinion, and just because, like Adarsh was just saying, 60% of our population still lives in this area, still depends on agriculture, is to connect them to their markets, so that they can reach to where they can sell what they produce. And that has to happen through policy intervention, connectivity. Second, middlemen. We have to learn to live in a world where most of the retail is organized. We have to move towards that. I don't think there is in any rational thinking person's mind and I've argued this again and again, and I've got a lot of political resistance to this point also, but I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that any kind of producer, agricultural producer, artisans, craftsmen, or anybody, and the consumer, their interest lies in the fact that we have an organized retail sector. And I think that policy intervention is must to make sure that the markets, they end up helping the ones which are, towards the bottom of pyramid rather than targeting them towards the middleman. Third policy intervention. We need more incentives in terms of very healthy interest rates, tax benefits, etc., much more than we already provide, to make sure that the capital and investment flows to the regions of our country which are left behind. By the way, I was talking about the fact that inequality has really increased in the last 15 years as we have moved up and our incomes have grown and economy has grown. I just want to take a sense of the audience here by asking you guys a very simple question. In this unequal world today, which state you think in India is most equal? By that what I mean is that which state do you think is, where the gap between rich and poor is the least in India? Any guesses?
Kerala.
Any other guess? Who said Bihar? That's the correct answer. So that's ironical. That's the poorest state of our country by far, and that's also the most equal state of our country by far, as measured by the Gini coefficient. So that's what I'm talking about. So we need to have much more incentivized policy in place to make sure that some of the capital investment is going towards the regions which are left behind if we really want to make, fourth thing, right subsidies. There have been people who've been opposing subsidies in the last 15 years since the market liberalization and globalization process started trickling in the early 90s. There have been a lot of strong voices, and including voices in my party, which have been really saying that subsidies are not right. Get rid of fertilizer subsidy, get rid of oil subsidy, fuel subsidy, but I think these guys have it wrong. If you look at why Africa is left behind and why Asia is progressing, that's because of the first green revolution. Why did first green revolution, what are the primary ingredients of the first green revolution? One of the most important ingredients is fertilizers. And the reason why we were able to make the fertilizers available to our farmers at a cheap price is because we provided a lot of subsidy. Africa is still not able to do that. And the fact that most of African soil and the farming there has really suffered low productivity is because there is no nitrogen left in a lot of African grasslands to produce more agricultural produce. So subsidies, very important. I don't think it's going away anywhere, and I'm sure there are more people like me which are going to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Finally, fifth point, and I'll stop at that because I know I've already exceeded my time, is the right balance between our tax structure and social, what we get into our kitty and what we spend, and the expenditure. I think this is one area which our government has got it right. In terms of increasing social spending in some of the sectors that Adarsh initially spoke about, and then Lakshmi followed it up. So some of the social sector areas we have to continue increasing. There is no easy way. It's a long road ahead. We have to continue to increase our expenditure in those sectors. And I believe, by the way, I'm not the most popular guy amongst some of the topmost industrialists these days, but I'm all for increasing our tax even further. For the top, for the rich. I mean, just one statistics, guys. 53 richest Indians, the richest billionaires, make 31% of our economy. The fact that inequality, and this has happened over the last 15 years. So as a result of markets providing aggregate prosperity to India as a whole, it has also led to enormous inequality where 53 Indians are just, accounting for over 30% of our GDP. So we need to increase tax on our, on our richest and get some more money into our, with the government spending.